Welcome to Game OK Podcast, the least frequent podcast on the internet, in my humble opinion.
Yeah, your favorite yearly podcast
Yes.
where we get about like 6 views last time.
God,
Oh
yeah.
shit.
So we're back. I'm here with Dan again. It's like we never left. We're back to
Yeah.
talk about E3. This is 2019, and
It's been a whole year.
It's been a whole year of stuff, and we have plenty of things to talk about. Maybe not as much as last year. I guess I'll start by asking you.
No.
I'll start by asking you because just to remind everyone, we are going to only be talking about the conferences that happened before the the Nintendo streams, which happen on the day that the trade show opens. So just to keep in mind, no Nintendo in this.
General.
Yeah, this is everything except Nintendo. We are going to cover that in a separate video. So I will start by asking you, what is your overall impression of E3 this year?
Generally, when it comes to E3 this year, other than Nintendo, it's a it's a real dead one, and I have a feeling it can probably be explained by the fact that this is like the last year for PS4 and Xbox One. So
yes, yeah, I think that could be a factor. I'm not entirely sure, but yeah, I mean, you would say this. Would you say this is worse than last year?
oh yeah, 100%. This is definitely a big step down, especially like when it comes to like presentation and how games in general were shown, which is something we're definitely gonna bring up.
I think that's true. Yeah, it won't take long to get into that. So I guess we're going to start off by talking about a few games that these don't necessarily belong to any specific conference. We just kind of have them grouped here. So we're going to be starting with the game that, well, this company used to do conferences. They sort of did one. I did not watch it. I watched only the footage of the one unreleased game, I believe, that they showed during it, from what I heard.
Same.
And that would be Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, or however you say it. We joked about this last year because it was announced in the most underwhelming way possible. But now we've seen the game, all things considered. We've seen it. What's your thought on it?
Generally, I'm not entirely negative. This is definitely like, for me, this feels like their big like apology game, where the last one was just like multiplayer only, the big loot box controversy, and then like they had to fix the game, and then they had to add more content. It's like, this is definitely like the game where it's like, here it is, guys. Here's our single player game without loot boxes. In fact, when I was watching EA, I noticed the guy had to come up and say, single player games aren't dead, which is something that I guess you would have to say when you were the ones trying to kill single player games in the first place.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, as far as this game, if it truly is just what they say it is, and I don't really think they're going to lie about that, because obviously they want people to buy this like you would any other standard, action game. But I can't say I was particularly thrilled with what I was seeing. It had this kind of bland look to it, to me, where I didn't really see much visual flair. I didn't really see much flair in the combat. I mean, I know we weren't playing it, but as far as action games go, it didn't feel like something that's coming out in only a few months. Like, this felt like the trailer they should have shown last year, because it was very simple.
I could say that honestly, when it comes to Jedi Fallen Order, this definitely seems like the trailer that it looks fine. Like you can see the influences from Dark Souls in the combat a little bit.
A little, yeah.
It's mainly going to be like one of those Uncharted style. Here's the big like roller coaster video game.
Yeah.
But really, this is the kind of trailer. There's like, here's the big first reveal, and then a few months later, people are going to be like, why was this? Why doesn't this look as good as the reveal trailer? And it's definitely, here's your max settings PC version till the eventual what this actually
Yeah,
looks like comes.
there's definitely some of that in there. I think I noticed that during the part where like he was moving the drill thing that was just indoors for some reason and it was going through the wall. I was like, that's not gonna you're not gonna be able to just see all that destruction. I don't know. I mean,
Everything's a little too fluid
yeah, I mean, it doesn't
in a
matter
way.
too much to me. You know, I'm more interested, like, does this play as advertised? Because that's what you're really showing. And to me, it just didn't. I don't know. I mean, when you see in Dark Souls 1, since I guess we're going to use that comparison, in Dark Souls 1,
Yeah.
when you have those undead guys with the crossbows, and they're just kind of standing there, it works, but in this game, when the stormtrooper is like just standing there and he's firing one bullet every 5 seconds and like he's not saying anything and he's not moving, it looks very weird to me, and I think that's why I didn't come away very impressed. Was that it didn't actually feel, even though it's going for that Uncharted thing where you would think there'd be a lot of spectacle, you know, you're climbing up stuff and things are exploding. The actual combat did not feel particularly spectacular. I think it certainly has potential. One thing I will say that I find this a little weird, I think this is more of what I would want from a Star Wars action game like this. I mean, I kind of thought it was a little weird that you had a lightsaber. I mean, I'm sure in the demo you're going to have a lightsaber, but I think if I was doing something like this, the lightsaber would be like the last thing you get in the game. Like, I would want to have. I think it might be more in line with like the idea of being in the Resistance. If you had to use like vibro swords or the kinds of things that you saw the enemies with, I just feel like lightsabers are so powerful in Star Wars that it's always hard to get them right, even in the games that I think have gotten them mostly right. I mean, maybe that's just me, but
Well,
I want to see those aspects of like you're leveling up your weaponry, and it's hard to do that with a lightsaber, at least on a visual level, I feel.
well, this is still, I believe, like the first time we're seeing this thing. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna assume that we might get like different weapon types over time.
Oh, I don't
But
know. I don't know. The way that he was
No,
cutting
the-
people up, it was just like, you're getting cut by a lightsaber. I just don't know. That's just
yeah,
me, though.
no.
That's not a
But-
huge complaint, but that's just one thing I noticed.
Well, if anything, something you brought up was, I guess, like kind of like how the stormtroopers just kind of like fodder in a way. I have a feeling that this game is going to be more based on the fact that your character is going to be going through these alien worlds, and like if you run into a stormtrooper, it'll be like a ranged whatever enemy. But I feel like this game is really going to rely on like more like aliens that can just throw at you. Because from the demo, you could see like
Well, they were fighting aliens
Once-
at some points, and that definitely seemed more dynamic.
yeah.
That's what you
But
want.
once like
Sure.
oh sorry, once an alien popped up, there was definitely like a lot more like the health bar was a lot larger and it took a bit more.
Sure. Yeah, I guess that's fair. I just kind of wonder what they're going for here. I mean, I think that a lot of people would compare this game to something like The Force Unleashed or Jedi Knight, I believe. And I mean, Jedi Knight, or whatever the hell it's called, Jedi Outcast, Jedi Academy, I think maybe it's all the same thing. That's a classic for some people. So I just don't know if this is going to
Same health bar.
Yeah, I don't know if this will reach that height. It's certainly...
It's a Star Wars game.
Yeah.
It'll sell. Like at the end of the day.
Sure. I'm sure it'll do okay. I'm sure Respawn probably didn't spend that much money on this. That was the other thing. Like, I know it looks nice, but I really wonder how long this game is. It seems like it is going to be completely linear. That's one thing that they did say, was that it sounds like there isn't really... If you were expecting like a light side, dark side thing, that's not in this game. It doesn't really appear that that's the case. So it might just be kind of a straight shot game. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, but I certainly wonder about the length of something like that, because that's part of the reason why companies like Electronic Arts move away from that, because they do not want people beating a game real fast and then returning it. So,
well, I feel like this definitely like it'll definitely be just a kind of a straightforward like maybe
Sure.
10-hour game, maybe longer if they really try to pad it out.
Oh,
But
I don't
it's
know.
definitely I feel like this game is not gonna really last a person that long. if they really are going for like a classic single player Uncharted thing.
Yeah.
I expect the price of this game to initially be like 60, and then like you'll probably be able to find it for $40 like 2 months later, and then like by next E3 you'll probably get this for like $20.
Yeah. I feel like this could just totally, the value could go way down. So I'm not sure there's much more to say. Do you have any other comments on this?
I guess other than this, or I guess the only thing I'd really like to comment on, and some eagle-eyed or eagle-eared, I don't know, listeners might hear that EA didn't really show much this year. It was pretty much just this and
this is the only
a new character.
Well, that's the thing. The only other things that they showed were just updates for games that are already out, and you could certainly have those. I don't mind that, but this was literally the only new game outside of what I'm assuming were the sports games. It does not sound like there was much new stuff really shown off. I mean, I'm not hearing much from my channels as far as like what I'm looking at. I'm going to websites, what was shown at the EA event, and I don't really see anyone talking about anything other than this as far as new content.
I feel like there should have been an update to a game that probably needs an update the most.
Oh boy.
Or anything, any kind of communication. Like, this is an EA conference, and they basically stated we're going to be talking about EA stuff. I understand Anthem was a big blow up.
Oh boy.
Like,
you said the A word.
I said the A word. But
I mean, yeah. I get what you're saying.
They really needed to talk about it.
Well, there is some new update that I think just came out, but I think it's in like a testing phase. They didn't even launch it. I don't know.
Isn't that also... There was also like a big Cataclysm thing apparently.
That's what I'm talking about.
Shit show.
Well, the problem with Anthem, for those who don't know about Anthem, they basically ran into a wall headfirst because they went from not being able to deliver the updates that were supposed to come out post-release to actually deleting their entire roadmap. They had a roadmap for 90 days or a year or whatever, and they basically said, yeah, we can't do this anymore, guys. So that just shows you that like BioWare is really downsized whoever's working on it, or the people who were there just could never manage that schedule. And I think that's pretty sad, but I mean, it's one of those things. That's the thing, is like, they were hyping this big service game up last year, and it's already, in a lot of people's minds, is already completely crashed and burned. And now we're here, and all we got is like a Star Wars game that I'm probably going to beat in like 6 hours. It's very humbling. I am surprised that this is the only new game they chose to show, because there have to be other things in development.
Very poor showing in general for EA.
Yeah.
They really need to get out of this rut of just, we can live off FIFA and Madden, and we don't need to make any, barely any games.
Because Battlefield has struggled as well. So core franchises are struggling. It seems like when you see these games going on sale really fast and all that. So they are in trouble.
Anthem was a step in the right direction, but I felt like they poured too much into it.
If Anthem had been made in more than 12 months, it might have actually been a good game.
Yeah. Ugh. But I guess at the end of the day, EA press conference, I guess this is just what we're talking about for the conference. Very, very poor showing. Jedi Fallen Order could be neat, but that remains to be seen, because like most EA games, you're just waiting for the catch. What's the catch with this game?
Yeah, this doesn't exactly restore goodwill, in my opinion. I mean, it's a step in the right direction, but when this is the only game on your slate, it's very, very awkward. So I think that's all that we're going to say about Electronic Arts. Let's move on to another company that has decided to just kind of freeze this year. I'm talking about Sony, our boys at Sony, who, I think the last couple E3s have been really a mixed bag.
Very kind of just resting on their laurels in a way.
This is the ultimate resting on the laurels, because they were not at E3. To my knowledge, they're not even here at a booth or anything. They are just not here at all. They did not have a conference, despite the fact that many of the games we talked about last year haven't actually come out yet. And they could definitely show them in more detail. I would have loved to see them in more detail.
How can this be E3 without my precious flute man? What the fuck?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Banjo solo. Well, we got banjo, but we're not talking about that today.
We're not.
Yeah, the banjo solo, the flute solo. These were magical moments that frustrated me to no end. And we didn't get sequels to them, but we didn't get anything. I mean, we're going to talk about Death Stranding because the trailer that came out before E3, I kind of thought was going to lead up to a gameplay demonstration. And that hasn't been released as of now. I don't know if it even exists. I personally really need that more than anything. I don't know about you.
We did get to see some gameplay in the trailer they showed,
Yes.
which the gameplay looks really cool, and I'm way more interested in Death Stranding than all other 5 trailers gave me.
Oh, sure.
This seems to be taking kind of a more survivally Breath of the Wild style approach to its gameplay,
There's definitely
which could be
potential.
really interesting.
Yeah, there's definitely potential to it, and I would love to see, I've said this before, but the demos that they did for Phantom Pain were really good, and they gave you a great, slice of the game that actually represented the game. Years before the game was released, you're seeing stuff that you could do completely in the finished product. And we didn't get anything like that with this game, and it's a little frustrating, but as long as you just give me one good, 30-minute demo, I'll be happy. Because this game's coming out in a few months. I was shocked to hear it's coming out this year.
We really need some kind of Sony state of play, or we need something for this game.
The state of plays have been awful so far, by the way. Well, that's just a side note, is that the attempts at Nintendo Direct that Sony has been doing this summer, I think, are just kind of really not good. And they don't represent what I want to see at all. And that's kind of my big problem, is that while I certainly have played games on the PlayStation, I've really enjoyed them over the past few years, very few of them are games that Sony themselves seems to actually be promoting. Death Stranding might be one of the only ones where I'm actually really excited for an actual Sony games project, to be quite honest, in a while.
Yeah.
So, anything else you want to say about Death Stranding?
I mean, it looks fun. That's all I can really say, is that I'm definitely gonna grab it when it comes out.
Yeah,
but
of course, yeah.
I don't. Maybe I'm just thinking, maybe just them not showing anything about Death Stranding is part of the charm.
It's not charming anymore. You can do that with the trailers I got.
I know, but
you can't.
But this whole game has been mystery. What is it? Mystery. I wonder if not showing
I don't
gameplay.
Think so. I think this trailer
is what they're going for.
I mean, this trailer to me was a lot less mysterious than the other trailers.
Well, yeah, because they had to show something, anything.
Yeah, to be quite honest, I felt like we got a decent slice.
Yeah.
At this stuff. I feel that we did. So, hopefully we just get more. I'm very disappointed that Sony didn't show up, because honestly, even if their conference wasn't that good, it still would have really helped, because we're about to talk about the first conference. But before we get to that, we got 2 games.
Yeah.
These are more things you want to talk about, I think.
Yeah.
And that's
some stuff that I thought was neat.
So, yeah, what's the first one?
Well, the first one is one that actually looked interesting when we put this on the docket, but has now been mired in some controversy immediately following its appearance at the PC Gaming Show.
Right, yeah.
Shenmue 3, the long-awaited sequel to 1 and 2. That
yeah.
I'm frankly really excited to play this, but man, once it was announced that it was an Epic Game exclusive.
Yes,
Epic
Games.
The internet, in general, has just kind of been in a riot over this thing.
Yeah, it's just another Kickstarter game where, Epic's offering them money, so of course they're going to take it, and, that's the thing, is I don't think that these games are necessarily going to be hurt by being on the store for a year. That to me doesn't seem to be the case, especially with something like Shenmue. Because
Shenmue had this weird thing where they didn't clarify what was going on. Immediately, when it was announced, it was said to be exclusive without a time limit. So people just assumed, and then it was clarified later that it was timed exclusive.
Yeah, I mean,
but
Shenmue's Kickstarter hasn't been very clear about a lot of things, to be honest.
no,
So
it has
I'm not
not.
really surprised. And I mean, yeah, that's the thing. The game is coming out this year, and I mean, to me, it kind of looked like a joke, but I'm not really. I'm not super versed in Shenmue. I mean, like, okay, is this what they're going for? Because this looks like a game from 10 years ago, and it sounds like a game from 15 years ago.
But that's what
the
it should
charm.
be.
That's what you said.
It should be
that's
that.
the charm. And,
Yeah.
and I guess I understand it, but I don't know if that's actually the intentions of the people making it. But if that's what you like from Shenmue, then I mean, I hope that's what you get from Shenmue.
If you want Virtual Fighter combat, bad voice acting, and odd QTE sequences, which was hinted at in this trailer, then it's what you're getting. You're getting another Shenmue game. Just you're not getting it on Steam initially.
Which I feel like most people who are going to get this game were going to get it on console anyway. Like, to be honest.
Yeah.
It is Shenmue. Like, this is not exactly a PC classic, to my.
But they are definitely losing some, like.
Oh no, people who
profit.
Yeah, I understand that, but that's the thing about this Epic Store stuff is that it's funny to me watching people get really mad because, you know, anybody who's been playing on consoles is used to all this kind of stuff. I do agree it's being poorly communicated, but it's not surprising because, like, these guys stepped into a market where there was no chance of getting money to be on a platform, and now everyone wants that. Like, that's the thing, is that I don't blame any of these developers for taking the money because it's money that they never thought they could get until Epic set up shop.
Especially Shenmue 3,
which needs all the money it can get.
It's not going to make any money. When it comes out, people say they're going to buy it, but this is a game where it's going to come out, maybe like 10,000 people or even 100,000 people will buy it, and that'll probably...
Yeah,
it's going to be one of those games.
It made a whole bunch of money on Kickstarter, and they still said it wasn't really enough to make the kind of game they want to make.
No.
Which makes me assume they've gotten a lot of private investing.
It reminds me of another series, Capcom's Darkstalker. It's a game where everyone kind of wants back. Everyone says they want it back.
Yeah.
And then Capcom puts out a remastered edition of like all the games, and then nobody buys it. And then Capcom or whoever, or like any other company in their position, would just be like, okay, I guess people actually don't care, so buy. Like, people want new Shenmue. It's just I don't know if people are gonna buy new Shenmue.
Yeah, yeah, we'll see. I don't know either. So we have one game before we get to Microsoft, because you actually played this demo. This demo should be out now.
Yeah.
For
so yeah.
What's this? How do you pronounce this?
Chris Tale.
Okay.
So this was was also shown at the PC Gaming Show.
Yeah.
It said it was like a kind of a tribute to classic RPGs, but honestly, to me, it seemed like it was kind of going for Paper Mario.
Well, the art style of it reminded me of like Child of Light and things like that. It didn't feel like it was trying to be old school. Felt like it was trying to be like a modern 2D game.
The art style in the game is gorgeous. Like, I absolutely adore this art style.
They certainly know what they're doing with that.
But yeah, the game itself, it's just kind of, at least from the demo I played, you have little slides. It's kind of the opening of the story, or at least kind of a small version of the opening.
Yeah.
But you go through town, you meet this frog, and you find out, hey, you can travel, you have the power to look between the future and the past. And so you can kind of use that to, like, see old versions of, like, characters. Like, you'll see this old lady, if you go to the past, you'll see, like, her in her, like, mid-20s rather than, like...
Yeah. The trailer made it look like you could just see, like, the layer of the other time. It didn't seem like you had to, like, go to a whole different place that was the past. So,
well,
like, is that how it works? Or the trailer made it look like you could be in the present and you could see something else on the screen as it appeared in the past.
Yeah, how the time travel kind of works in the game is that it is sliced into, like, 3 different sides of the screen. Yeah. Left side, you have the past. Right side, you have the future. Middle is...
right, okay. So that is actually what it looks like.
you can actually travel to each side of the past and the future via the little frog companion you have, and the movement is a little limited in both past and future sections because when you travel with the frog gets younger or older, which is
Okay.
a neat little detail. But it's still in development. When you go to the past and the future, you can't interact with anybody really other than important puzzle solving stuff, which is a
Yeah.
little disappointing.
Yeah.
And that would I would say that it's the problem with Christelle right now is that it's still very it's still early. Like the
Yeah.
combat is not great.
Yeah. We
It's
don't. Does this
very
game have a release date?
it said I think in 2020 on
Oh,
the
okay.
trailer, but the combat is not great. It definitely needs improvement. It feels very sluggish. Like it wants you to hit the button at the right time, but it really gives no indication. You just end up mashing the button to get a double attack.
Yeah. That's
It really needs
always.
refinement.
Yeah.
But
Hopefully they have plenty of time to do that. I mean, if there's one thing I've learned from playing Indivisible in its demo forms, it's that this shit can really take forever, even when you don't think it's gonna take forever.
yeah,
So,
so
yeah,
at the end of the day,
you think
the
this
art style is
could
very
be one
nice.
to watch? Yeah.
This would be one to watch. The art style is very nice. The idea is really cool. At least what they're going for story wise and mechanic wise. I would say try out the demo. If you like it, then give it a watch. Wait for it to come out. At least that's what I'm going to be doing
Yeah,
with this
just
game.
could be a neat little indie game that we just thought we would mention before we get into the opposite of indie.
Yeah.
It's time to
Also
talk
coming
about.
to Switch.
Oh,
There you go.
okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, it's time to talk about our boys in green, Microsoft, and
Microsoft.
yeah, Microsoft in years past has been it's been a rough watch. Last year was improving. This
Yeah.
year, I think, was worse than last year, but was still better than some of the really bad years. That was my perspective on it. I mean, did you think this was a good conference overall?
It was not better than last year, and last year was still kind of middling.
Okay.
This was not one of their best conferences, and this was I feel like the conference they needed to show.
Yeah, because they hyped this up. You know, we're going to show you the new Xbox. We're going to show you the new Halo. You know, there was talk of streaming at many of these conferences, actually. So this was one of those things where I think they really need to step their game up. I don't really think that they did. And I think we'll get to that as we continue through this. So we'll start with the first game. There were like 60-something games. We are not talking about anywhere close to all the games that were here. It's just not going to happen.
Hell to the no.
So we're only going to talk about a few of these things. All right, so we're going to start off with Bleeding Edge. This is from the good folks at Ninja Theory, who, as you may remember them for ruining Devil May Cry and making a few other games like Hellblade and Odyssey, Escape Odyssey to the West, or whatever it's called. I don't remember.
It was all right.
Sure, Heavenly Sword as well. And that's why I bring that up, because they're trying to do something really new. And just so you know, they were an independent company. They got bought by Microsoft last year. So this is now a Microsoft game that they're fostering. And perhaps because of that, it is not a single-player game. It is a multiplayer game. It is you basically said it was Anarchy Reigns 2. I don't think anyone who's listening to this knows what Anarchy Reigns was, but we're basically saying that it's going to be like... It bills itself as like a 4v4 melee equivalent of like a hero shooter. Would you say that?
I would say yeah. If anybody... So I guess if we want to build on the Anarchy Reigns thing, Anarchy Reigns was in another a platinum game from days way gone by.
Oh yeah.
Where essentially you got to play as one of I think 16-ish characters.
Yeah, it was technically a sequel to Mad World, but it only had the same characters. It didn't have the plot or anything.
Right, but basically the game entailed you this big online component where you'd go online with the character you liked, and then you would basically just fight each other in a character action game, but basically multiplayer. It was a little kind of a bit unbalanced, but I feel like that's what Bleeding Edge is kind of going for. Not for the unbalanced thing, obviously.
Well, that's the issue here, is that it's very hard to balance. Like, what makes a character action game good? It doesn't necessarily make a multiplayer competitive game good. And so I feel it would be very difficult, potentially very difficult, to translate the movement and the controls and all that and into this kind of game. It's certainly worth trying. I'm not really sure how it's going to turn out. We didn't really see much gameplay. It was just like them walking in engine. And you're probably going to hear us say we didn't see much gameplay a lot during this podcast.
Yep.
But
this
here,
is the E3 of no gameplay.
Yeah, this was one of those things where, yeah, I mean, we saw the characters. I can't say that any of the characters really... I didn't really like any of them. I barely remember what they look like, but I remember being like, ugh. I don't know. Some people were making Battleborn jokes, like,
are not
immediately. So I don't think we really have much more to say because we haven't really seen it, and we don't know anything about how this game's going to work. You know,
I'd say the only real saving grace is that they're heavily advertising that this is from like similar people who made the remake.
Yeah, they were really hinging on you knowing that they've made character action games, but I'm not convinced that that's going to matter here because you're making an online multiplayer game, and translating that gameplay could be a real challenge, especially when you have to have a lot of characters, because that's the thing, is that I think a lot of the best character action games, for the most part, it's a game where you just play as one character and you have a really complex and rich moveset. So yeah. I don't know if you can translate that focus into something like this, but they're certainly going to try.
Yeah, I mean, character action, it's definitely the issue, because character action games generally want you to get these long combos, and they're basically this big power trip. They want you to feel you're destroying everything, and that's really hard to do in a multiplayer game.
Especially when the person on the other end is being bodied by your long combo. You know?
Yeah.
Like, isn't that basically like the problem with Overwatch? Is like, oh, you're getting bodied by all these characters who can push you around. Like, there's basically just be another game where that's actually what you're supposed to be doing. I don't know.
Pretty much.
But yeah.
But who knows? I mean, it's not like it's a dungeon crawler, which is what our next game is.
Minecraft Dungeons, which I thought was already out because I had read a press release about it, and I thought it was just like a new mode for Minecraft. I swear I read this somewhere. But then we saw it. And yeah, the next game, Minecraft Dungeons, which is basically a Diablo, Zelda, dungeon crawling in Minecraft. It's third-person, isometric camera. It's kind of surprising that this is something they're really going for. I think it is weird that they didn't just make this a mode in Minecraft, or at least have it keep the Minecraft controls, because I feel like, yeah, you'll definitely lose something in doing it like that. This is also on Switch, I should mention.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of Diablo-like games coming out lately. You got this game, you got Diablo, I guess. You have Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3 coming out. You have like games like Pillars of Eternity.
Well, they're all very different, but they do have that camera. The camera's the defining thing. I was definitely surprised to see that.
Oh, wait, I might have... You know what? Strike that... Did I say Diablo 3? I honestly might be thinking of Baldur's. But anyways...
Diablo has the camera, though.
Anyway, shut up.
Diablo for phones is going to have that camera, too.
Oh, yeah. The one where you need to have the phone.
Yeah, right, you guys... Yeah, I'm not going to make the joke. Everyone's heard it already.
Don't make the joke. But isn't this coming out on phones?
Oh, it might be, because there were quite a few games we saw during this that had the phone logo on them, and this might be one of them. There were definitely some that we didn't expect that they said they're coming out to phones as well as computer and PC and whatever.
Yeah.
So, yeah, who knows? I mean, if you're a Minecraft fan, maybe you'll like it, but I honestly don't know if this is even something that they would want. So I guess we'll move on and talk about things that it seems like everybody wants, just because.
The big highlight of the show.
I don't even really... I mean, this was the highlight, but I don't think it should have been the highlight. Because it was Cyberpunk 2077, which we did not see gameplay of.
Again.
We had a trailer. To be fair, there is gameplay out there, but it's not.
Yeah, there is.
I don't know how legit it is, but that's the thing. Is I was hoping, okay, we got a really long gameplay demo last year. Wouldn't it be great if they could fit a gameplay demo into the show somehow? And they didn't really do that. They just gave us another cutscene, and the cutscene was fine, except for the fact that it was censored. They were bleeped out swears, which I'm not surprised, given how vulgar the gameplay demo was. But
I mean, they bleeped out swears, but then, like, a second later, they had the guy chopping a dude's arm off.
Gore
and
is
then
okay.
Shooting a woman and a man, like, in the head immediately afterwards.
I agree. It doesn't make a lot of sense, but for whatever reason, that's what happened.
Video game priorities are weird.
I guess so, yeah. Really, the highlight of this was that Keanu Reeves was not only revealed to be in the game, but then he appeared on stage and he kind of awkwardly said things.
No, he was charming. Get out of here.
I mean, he looked like he had no idea what he was doing, and I can't really blame him. But, it wasn't terrible. I've seen worse. I've certainly seen worse on stage at a thing like this. But either way, he was there. The game is coming out in April right now. I personally expect it to be delayed.
Yeah, it's gonna be delayed.
Just based on the gameplay that we did see, I'm like, this is not... this is crazy.
But hey,
you still haven't seen it,
it'll
right?
come out, at least. I mean, I hope. That's...
Yeah, I mean...
But...
I have kind of a... this game looks really cool. I would love for this game to be awesome.
Oh, yeah. Digging the atmosphere, loving, the art design, everything about this game.
My problem with it, just though... Well, it's not even my problem with the game. It's more my problem with a lot of the gaming community, especially on, YouTube and other websites, is that people are really hyping this up way too much. I think that people gotta be, you gotta have realistic expectations. You see the same thing with Death Stranding, where the same people who will go on rants about how evil every single publisher is will also go on rants about how Cyberpunk and Death Stranding are the second coming of Christ, and they're going to redeem the entire gaming industry. And it's really awkward. I don't...
Kill will save it.
Yeah, stop saying... we don't need saviors. You might feel that way, but, this ain't the hip-hop game. We don't need the savior complex. And it's just awkward. So, that's my little rant, and I think the game is going to look good. But I'm kind of annoyed with how much people are evangelizing CD Projekt. I mean, they make good games, but it remains to be seen if Cyberpunk is going to be one of them. So
I think what people are really excited, honestly, when it comes to, I guess, CD Projekt Red, is the fact that CD Projekt Red in general, especially with their storytelling, is so, at least, detail-oriented.
They are detail-oriented. They are.
And I think that's something you really need to fully realize the Cyberpunk world, because we've had all these other games that have tried to do Cyberpunk worlds, and a lot of them not doing well with it, some of them doing pretty good with it, but...
Well, no one's tried this scale, and that's the other thing. I'm definitely excited for the Deus Ex and that kind of system-driven RPG stuff that you see in a lot of games. They're going to do it here, and they actually, I think, said in an interview today that you can actually beat the game without killing anybody, and if that's true, if that's something you can do without glitching, then that's pretty cool. Just because you're going to have to really think outside the box, and you're going to have the tools to do that. And that's the kind of thing that I like in these kinds of games. And it would have been nice to see some more of those tools at the Microsoft press event. But we didn't get to see any gameplay of this game. We did see a little bit of gameplay of the next game, a game that I think really... watch out, Cyberpunk. This game's going to get you good. It's Dragon Ball Z Kakarot. We've played Dragon Ball Z games before. This is another one of them. What do you have to say about this, Dan?
So I will say, initially, it seemed as though, people, were really excited for this game. It seemed like it was going to be, the new, DBZ action RPG that everyone can enjoy.
Uh-huh.
And then, the trailer happened and you saw some gameplay. And then after the gameplay happened, you realize it's just Xenoverse again.
Yeah, Xenoverse
it has,
without the Xenoverse.
Similar combat. Yeah, it's just without the interesting part of Xenoverse, which is remixing, the entire story of Dragon Ball.
And
but
all the characters.
Yeah. And yeah, create a character and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But this is it's just the same. It looks like the same thing. You have the same control style. You have the same like everything. It just seems like you're just gonna be fighting with larger health bars and cutscenes in between the fight.
Yeah, and that to me is a no-no, because I've played a decent number of Dragon Ball Z games in my time, and I'm personally very tired of seeing the story retold over and over again. Like, it's not going to get any better seeing it in these cutscenes, to be honest. So I'm tired of seeing Krillin die and all that other stuff.
Yeah, we got to see that in the trailer.
Yeah, I was happy about it. I clapped.
You don't have to buy the game now.
Yeah, I just don't really... I just am not interested in this. Because when they showed that first trailer a while ago, it almost seemed like they were trying to go for, like, oh, you're Goku, you walk around the world of Dragon Ball. Maybe this will be kind of like an RPG or like a Yakuza game or something.
Yeah.
And it doesn't really appear to be the case from this footage. I mean, it could still be that way, and that's what it would need. But I'm kind of tired of just going through Goku's story over and over again.
Even the overworld like traversal seems really underwhelming. It's just kind of...
It didn't look that good. Like, I will agree with
No.
that. We don't even know if it's a real
just
overworld. It might have just been walking around the stages.
Yeah, I mean, it just reminded me of, like... What was that? The old Dragon Ball Z Budokai 3. It just kind of reminded me of that in a way. Where you just fly around to the important zones, and then you talk to the guy.
Yeah,
and you do the fight.
So this is certainly no fighters as far as getting hype about a Dragon Ball game at E3. Like, this ain't that. So I don't think there's much more to really say.
Listen, if this game has Goku, but remember, Fighters has like 8 Goku, so you really don't really need to play this game. Just play Dragon Ball Z Fighters.
They already made the Goku game. It was Fighters. Okay. Well, speaking of... Well, okay. I can't think of
Speaking of multiple... No, I got it. Speaking of multiple characters within a character, we got to see a very weird... a very odd trailer
Gears of War 5, which was announced last year. This year, we somehow managed to see less gameplay than we did last year. Although, from what I understand, there are streams of this game that you can go watch. That's fine. But they still screwed it up for me because... We technically saw like 3 trailers for this game. They did spend a lot of time on Gears 5, which is coming out in September. So we saw a trailer that didn't contain any story information or anything. It was just the main character's face and other faces, and it was...
I guess she's half Locust.
Spoilers.
Really all you get from the trailer.
I don't know.
Spoilers for Gears of War 4, the game no one really played.
Yeah, so either way... Yeah, so we got a trailer that didn't even have dialogue in it. It was just, like, annoying. But it's not the first annoying Gears of War trailer, in my opinion.
But then after we got the Gears of War trailer for their new 3-player co-op mode, which is basically just Horde with a mission attached to it.
Yeah,
so
I mean,
Left 4 Dead.
it's kind of like that, yeah. It seems like a Left 4 Dead-inspired mode. And the problem was that they were like hyping it up, like, we're going to show you this game mode. We got this part of our stage where we're going to lower the camera and blah, blah, blah. And they just showed us a trailer for the game mode that did not contain any footage. I was trying to describe this trailer to someone earlier, how it's like you're seeing the characters in the game go through the game mode, but it's not gameplay at all. It's just a cutscene. And they thought I was describing like the Rainbow Six Siege trailer where they had people playing and it wasn't real or whatever. And they didn't even do that because they didn't even have people on the mic talking. That actually, I might have preferred that because I didn't know what was going on. So yeah, we got that trailer for that. And then we got what I think may have been a real-time trailer. But unfortunately, the only thing in the fucking trailer was Terminator.
Terminator.
T-800. He's going to be in the game because you need to go see Terminator Dark Fate whenever it comes out. So
also,
that was annoying.
Enjoy Terminator in Mortal Kombat 11, maybe.
Mortal Kombat 11 and perhaps one other game we will talk about later.
This is the E3 of Terminator for some reason.
Yeah, if I didn't already put Keanu on the thumbnail, I would put a Terminator on it. that would be the thumbnail image.
Yeah, just slap it on there. See Terminator, Dark Fate, whatever the heck.
Dark Fate, not to be confused with the Dark Phoenix. So yeah, we don't have much to say about Gears because we're honestly not really Gears of War fans. I mean, I played them way back.
Hey man,
but
hey, Gears Pop.
Yeah, Gears Pop somehow didn't make the list. Damn. Yeah.
Wow. So hey, yeah, so that was Gears of War. But hey, speaking of things for children,
Gears Pop.
we got a thing. Just a quick little thing for Forza. Like I couldn't care about like Forza Horizon 4 at all.
Usually, I really tune out when we see the car stuff. I'm tuning out super hard because it's not my kind of thing.
It's like cause like here comes the car on stage, and then the trailer gets shown and fucking Legos.
Yeah, it's a Lego expansion for the Forza game.
And then it goes back to the car. The car is made of Legos, and
I appreciated that. I guess it was a good
fun.
way of parodying something in the show that I've typically not enjoyed. So I'll give them all the credit in the world for that.
Yeah, it wasn't exactly a pop off, but what actually got us the one pop off of the Xbox conference?
This was
I popped off. God damn it!
I didn't know what this was. All right, relax.
So, the Sega logo comes on screen. And then, what's that? Oh, that's right, it's Phantasy Star Online 2 coming to America. Pray Shinji Mikami or whoever the hell has something to do with
Shinji definitely does not.
No.
Pray
Yuji Naka, whatever.
You've been like illegally wiretapping and jacking into some Japanese phone lines, I'm assuming, to play this game from the way you make the sound.
Phantasy Star Online 2 has a history because it was announced to be coming out like 7 years ago, in 2012. It was like at E3. They gave away promo material. Like people have like mouse pads of American Phantasy Star Online 2.
Oh wow! I didn't.
But then it never came out.
Yeah, how long has this game been out in Japan though? Just so we are clear.
I believe 7 to 6 years. It's been a long time.
Oh damn!
But somehow Microsoft convinced Sega to finally put it out after like years of having to put up with like a pretty solid translation team. Like shout outs to the guys at Arcs who like translated this entire MMORPG so that
easy.
American players can like at least give it a shot. And like it's a fun game. It's really like it's got like a ton of content. There's a ton of stuff to do.
Yeah.
And it seems that all that content is coming, I guess, at launch.
They said that in the trailer, but we didn't see much, so it's hard to say. I don't know much about this. I mean, bringing an MMO that's kind of geared towards Asian markets here is always, maybe they just didn't think it would be worth it. I mean, it's kind of odd that it took them this long, and we'll see if it has any success.
I mean, Terra is like the most Asian-y MMO, and it succeeds here.
Terra seems to be doing okay, and there's still a lot of people playing, Final Fantasy and all that. So this could have an audience. I don't really know. Maybe it'll do well. If it doesn't, then I'll probably watch like a Death of a Game video on it in a couple of years or something.
I mean, I think it's got a chance being free to play. Like that definitely gives it a higher chance than it would.
Well, yeah, I mean, they have to do. You can't do subscription. I mean, you can only get away with that if you're like at the top of the market, and they're not.
Yeah, only like Square and like Blizzard can get away with that.
Yeah, so I guess we'll just move on to the next game here, which we don't even know what this game is. They announced it like this. It's coming. It's coming.
Yeah.
We've been trying to bring this to you for 3 years or something. We don't know
what
this is.
We're just bringing this up just because it seemed like it was a big deal.
Yeah.
I guess.
Phil Spencer hyped this up, and this game is called Crossfire X.
Not to be confused with Crossfire.
Maybe I don't know what. Like we're so lazy we couldn't even look this up. Like what is Crossfire X? They show a completely pre-rendered trailer that just has like military stuff in it, and I'm assuming this is an MMO. Like that's just where my mind goes. But we don't know anything about it. Please, I guess write us some nice comments. Be polite, and tell us what Crossfire X is.
I mean, the big advertising thing didn't advertise to us properly on what this game was, so I guess we're gonna have to rely on the comments here.
Yeah. Well, speaking of being vague, let's talk.
Being vague and having no gameplay.
Again. Yeah. Yes. Let's talk about our next game, which is Elden
Dark
Ring?
Souls 4. I mean, Elden
Dark
Ring.
Souls like 6 or something. I don't even know where we are at this point when you really factor them all in. But this is the new Dark Souls studio game. I'm just gonna call them that.
I mean, the interesting part is that they're back with Bamco on.
I was kind of surprised, but yeah, this is done through Bandai Namco, and it is from Software, so they're making a new game that is technically not Dark Souls, and unfortunately, I have every reason to assume that it's just going to be another Dark Souls-esque game, because that's all they really seem to want to do now.
Yeah.
The only thing to say about this trailer is that George R. R. Martin is apparently involved in the story, but I don't even really know if that... I mean, that has potential, because the man has certainly come up with a pretty compelling world of his own. I just don't really know how that will translate, because that's the thing, is like George R. R. Martin is the kind of writer who will just write, chapter upon chapter upon chapter of stuff. I mean, granted, he can't seem to do that anymore, but like, he can really realize a world and a scene. And Miyazaki is the kind of guy who he will take the pages and he'll just rip a lot of them out, and then that's the version you get. And I don't mean that as a negative, like, that's the intention, is that Dark Souls has a world where there's so much that is just lost or sort of implied, and you kind of have to piece it together. And sometimes that works and sometimes it doesn't.
You're gonna get some good item descriptions.
I would love for some good item descriptions, because that's always fun.
You'll get good item descriptions and some pretty good vague cutscenes that hint at a story, which, I'm down for. That's always cool to do.
It's not, unless they are just trying to go for a more direct story, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but if the story isn't very good, then it would just kind of leave you, I don't know. These games have not... I've just gotten tired of them. Like, I haven't played Sekiro.
Really?
I waited a while to get Dark Souls 3. It's just kind of been frustrating. I can't really point to where it went wrong, but I feel like the more of these I play, because they've been releasing these games so often, I feel like I get less and less out of them as I play them. And, I mean, I wouldn't really say that makes them bad games. I mean, the only one I think is bad is Dark Souls 2. But the ones after that, like Bloodborne, to me, was just kind of okay. Dark Souls 3, I thought, was just alright. And I'll probably pick up Sekiro once it, like, really goes on sale or something, because I just feel like I'm getting less and less out of these games as they continue to release them. So my biggest hope for Elden Ring is that they're really, really trying to do something different, because I think that FromSoft, they play it really close. Their games, they make different games, but they have so much in common in so many categories that I just kind of look at it like it's all one big series. Because there are other companies that do a much better job of differentiating the games that they make.
Other than Bloodborne, the aesthetics kind of are starting to just meld together into this singular thing.
Yeah, I mean,
like, even Sekiro,
even Bloodborne is kind of guilty of that. And Dark Souls 3 has a lot of stuff in it that just looks like Bloodborne. So,
well, but I'd say Bloodborne at least tries to be something more like horror infused.
Well, that was what they were going for, but I'm
like a I guess what's the guy who's the
There are a lot of moments in Dark Souls 3 that feel like they could have been in Bloodborne, though. Like, that's the thing, is that what was unique about Bloodborne might not even be unique anymore, because they just kind of keep doing that stuff. So, I don't know. That's just kind of my opinion on FromSoft in general. I'll probably check this game out, but it's not going to be for a while after it comes out. And especially when you release a trailer that has no footage, and, I mean, it's just some vague dialogue. I mean, I don't know. I mean,
that could have been the opening cutscene. That could have been sad.
Maybe. We'll find out later. Speaking of later.
But next year, we're getting something big.
Yes, it's
just big.
I don't really know how much there's to say about this.
It was very vague, and what we're talking about is Xbox Scarlet, which they talked about.
Yes, the new Xbox.
In the most roundabout way they could, like, they talked around it so much that they couldn't really say anything, really.
It was very vague, other than some technical details that I think most of the audience does not even understand. And that was really all there was to say. I mean, new consoles are coming. What do you think about it?
I think also there was kind of I don't remember the exact quote, but there was a flow where I think one of the developers said, "Do you know how much the solid state drive will help out the SSD?"
Oh, I.
There was some
Well,
flub, but
maybe.
but it's little flubs like that and just things that just really tell you they really couldn't say
Yeah, I mean,
anything about this.
it's awkward because Sony, while Sony hasn't really formally announced the PS5, they have put out some statements and shown some video where they're giving you an idea of some of the things they're trying to do. And all that really
Yeah,
amounts to is solid state drive, and shit's going to load a lot faster, and you'll be able to play the games you have now on it. And that's good. That's more details than we got with Scarlet. Granted, there is definitely some overlap, but I mean, the biggest thing for me is that, like, as someone who doesn't own an Xbox One, I still see very little reason to get an Xbox One now or to get the Scarlet in the future. I just don't think it's going to work. I mean, you can bring Battletoads back all you want. It's not gonna work for me. You know, I'm sorry.
no. I mean, it's really gonna come down to what Sony can bring to the table and what are these systems really going to entail? Because remember, the reason why everyone swapped to a PS4 was because of how bad Microsoft messed up with the Xbox One's initial
Yeah,
idea
that
of
gave
having
them an early lead
these
for sure.
online like restrictions. Like,
Yeah.
it's really going to come down to if one of them trips up at the starting line again.
Well, yeah, and that can totally happen because, you know, we have the Game Pass, we have the streaming stuff that everyone's trying to do, and so yeah, that stuff's going to be really important. I mean, I don't buy consoles at launch. Like, that's just my general advice. Is that the last few consoles I've bought, I've definitely waited and I felt good about it. And with this, it's really going to be important. I mean, we got a whole year and a half before these things are on sale, so I'm sure there will be plenty to talk about. And we didn't get it here because they kind of, you know, they don't want the show to be about the console. They want it to be about the games you buy now. And so it's an awkward position to be in. And
But they did show off a new Xbox Scarlet launch game.
well, this is the problem: is that you gotta save the conference, man. We're talking about Halo. Halo has to save the conference, and like we got a cutscene, and that's it. I don't think there was any real gameplay. They said it was in engine, but it was just a cutscene. Like I feel like last year, the little footage that we saw, that almost seemed like it was more representative of gameplay, even though it was just some shots of like the car and a few other things. But you could say that was theoretically they were driving the car in game and they were showing it. So I don't really know what they're trying to do. That's the other thing. They've said this is supposed to be like a soft reboot of Halo, and I don't really buy. The trailer didn't really explain how it's a soft reboot to me. Although, granted, my Halo lore is very, very rusty. So.
Well, yeah, I don't think any of us read the books.
Well, that shouldn't matter anyway. But my friend told me about the plot of Halo 5, and I didn't. I was like, is this what happened at the end? I thought something else happened. So, but if it's a soft reboot, then I think none of that matters. Because Halo 5's story, generally, from what I've read in reviews and from talking to people, is not really held in very high regard. So I think they're trying to get away from it because, yeah, it was just like, ugh. And I don't know. I mean, we'll see what they can come up with. Halo is one of those things where it plays in a very unique manner compared to many other shooters right now. The more they've tried to take Halo and make it play like contemporary games, I think the more they've kind of missed the point. I feel like they've adapted the wrong aspects of gameplay. From what I've seen.
Yeah.
And so maybe they can change that, but they did not demonstrate that to a shred at this conference.
And I think that's really what the issue was with Microsoft in general, was just a bunch of CG trailers with really not much else. Like, the one thing I was interested in, Phantasy Star Online 2.
And
just a bunch of CG.
Yeah.
Cyberpunk, CG trailer.
Yeah.
I mean, we got gameplay of DBZ Kakarot, but that game doesn't look great. And everything else we talked about, all that stuff.
Yeah, well, there was
except for Forza and like Kakarot.
So there were some indie games that they
Dungeons.
showed where you were definitely seeing some gameplay. But like none of those games really looked interesting enough to me to the point where we're obviously talking about them now. So that's the thing, is that like there just wasn't, for such a long conference. They continue to fail to kind of make me excited and to give me a good look at the kinds of games, because you need to see that to make a purchase.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, you buy the game and then what? You try to get a refund? Well, speaking of refunds, we're gonna segue.
Woo! Woo!
Oh, no.
Time to talk about the most exciting conference of the entire fucking.
Well, let's
time.
lower that energy, because.
But I can't. I'm just so excited about this.
Please don't impersonate Loud Guy in the crowd, because he was the worst.
Oh my god! What? Who invited that guy?
Bethesda.
Yeah, they really invited.
So we didn't
Here
like
comes
this. So let's just. This is the worst. This was the worst.
This was bad.
This was worse than I thought it would be, but
yeah,
I kind of had a very different expectation of what it would be anyway.
We were talking about how this would just kind of just be like a funeral. Like, this would be sad, basically. But you know what it turned into? It turned into a look how much Bethesda changed these people's lives. Look how great our games is. Look at our community. Aren't you all great? It's like, shut up.
Yeah, they were really trying
God.
to use their fans as like a shield, because Todd Howard was barely on stage, and they played a couple of these videos where it was just fans talking about their experiences with the game. And I've never
not once, but like
I've never really been a fan of those kinds of things. I mean, they can be done well, but they kind of just, it feels like someone is pouring their heart out, but it doesn't affect me at all. It's very awkward. So that to me felt almost like an excuse. Like, hey, you can't talk shit about our company anymore. You can't make fun of us for making like garbage that even the critics agree is garbage now. Like, you guys can't do that, because we got fans, and one of them actually said that the game saved their life, and that just made me feel. First of all, the game did, like, if you're hearing this, the game did not save your life. That was you. All right, don't fucking give them the credit. That was you.
You saved your own life.
So
Bethesda didn't save you.
They didn't. Spoilers.
The big corporation didn't save your fucking life. Like, I'm sorry, man.
Look, I don't mean to insult, but I'm just saying that I'm just imagining Bethesda using that clip and being like, "See, people love us," and that's the thing, is that Bethesda.
If you don't like us, you're just a hater.
Yeah, you're just a hater, even though, like, the fact that we've been releasing really unfinished games has finally caught up with us, and it's turning a lot of people against us, and people aren't actually buying our games anymore. Like, they're in a really serious position, and they need to figure it out. Because
starting with...
Well, yeah,
we gotta start with the first one.
Well, the first two games we're going to talk about were the games they spent the most time talking about last year, and these games basically became jokes. Which was Elder Scrolls Blades, the phone game, which once it came out, it was immediately apparent that it was just a very predatorial phone game where they're just trying to suck your money constantly. It's
a predatorial phone game, but it's the full Elder Scrolls experience.
Yeah, that's the thing. At least Fallout Shelter, it was just cookie clicker, and it knew it, and they didn't really try to spin it as anything else, from what I remember. Yeah. This is trying to make you think that you're playing like the experience of going through a dungeon in Elder Scrolls. But it's just the same crap where, I gotta get the chest, but I can't open the chest because I don't have enough energy. And it's just dumb. So throw it in the garbage. They try to hype us up for it here. They try to talk about how great it's going to be, but no. So that's that. Now we're going to talk about Fallout 76.
Fallout 76!
The nuclear winter, as this year 2 is called, because they...
Can you believe?
Yeah.
Humans are going to be in this game.
Yeah, so...
Wow. Oh my god.
The only nice thing I will say about that is that, yes, in addition to being able to talk to actual human NPCs where you can converse with them, the conversation does appear to be the conversation from Fallout 3 and New Vegas. It's not the terrible conversation that was in 4. So I will say I'm happy about that, but obviously I have a feeling the conversation is just there for token stuff. You're not really going to make a difference You're going to pick your options, and they're not really going to acknowledge them. That's just my assumption. Also, they're adding a Battle Royale mode, which kind of made me laugh a lot.
I mean, talk about, like, just giving up.
I mean, the game can barely handle having as few people on the map as it has now. I don't understand. If you have not watched Joseph Anderson's videos on Fallout 76, I would highly recommend them, because that's going to give you a pretty objective look at what this game was like to play when it first came out. And I'm not even really convinced that they can fix it that much, because it just runs like garbage. that's really the biggest issue. So I don't know.
I'm gonna be worried when people are playing this Battle Royale mode, and it's supposed to be a Ring of Fire, apparently.
Yeah.
I'm super worried that, like, these fire effects and, like, how the land gets changed, like, they have to change objects because of that. This thing's gonna, like, literally, this game's gonna be on fire when it comes out, because it's gonna break it. This is bad.
There could be problems with it, so we'll see. I mean, I think that the mode, you can sort of play it for the week, from what I've heard. So maybe there's people checking it out. I don't know. This, to me, is just like... I mean, I guess they feel like they have to try. They have to try to make it up to people. And that's fine, but first impressions really, really matter. And this is a game that made a really poor first impression on just the general audiences and critics.
Everything surrounding this game. Everything.
And it was on sale for like 50% off within a month. And that's when I knew. I'm like, oh man, there's real problems here.
Yeah.
So best of luck, Bethesda. Because you got to fix this. And I don't really know if it's even worth fixing. And that's all we have to say about Bethesda Game Studios, because that's all they were here to talk about. There was no tease of Starfield, there was no tease of Elder Scrolls 6, and I didn't really need that, but I was kind of surprised we didn't get any Starfield stuff, because if I was Bethesda, I would really want to move along. And let's talk about the next game. So, speaking of talking about the next game, this was kind of a surprise, because I didn't really know what it would be. It was Shinji Mikami and his company Tango.
Our Lord and Savior.
He's not really my Lord and Savior, but he...
I know. He does okay stuff.
Shinji, Mikami, he did good work with Resident Evil at Capcom. He bounced around to a few different places. Since then, he's been working here. He did The Evil Within 1 and 2, which I think... not really seen as outright bad games, but kind of disappointing considering the pedigree of their, him.
I mean, it's not... You're never going to get Resident Evil 4 again, but, they're solid.
Yeah, it's like, if you want more of that, you're getting it. I mean, I think people like the first one more than the second one, but I don't really know much about the second one.
Second one is odd because it's kind of an open world, kind of not. But
the
second one looks okay.
I don't know. We're not really familiar with that. But the point is that they're not making a third one. It's time for their new game, which is called Ghostwire Tokyo. And we don't really know anything about it because the trailer was pre-rendered and didn't really show much.
Another CG trailer.
It was just spooky Japanese things, and then we saw somebody who looked like Hawkeye in Avengers Endgame. And
was the Ring Girl in there? Was she there? I could have sworn.
Maybe. I don't know. I mean, that could have been there. I honestly don't remember. They said that it was some kind of action-adventure game, but it's not a survival game, which I don't know. I mean... maybe that's the case, but I feel like the premise, the vibe that I got from that trailer, it seemed like the setup to a survival horror game. So I'm not really sure what they mean by that. Did you notice anything else about this?
No, it's just kind of like Thanos snap, and now Hawkeye has to do stuff.
Yeah.
I didn't get much. I mean, I like a good horror game. I feel like horror tends to be the most kind of interesting. You could do the most interesting stuff when it comes to video games. But I mean, I want to see more. It could be good, but all I have is a premise. That's it.
We have very little to go off here, so unfortunately, there isn't really much to say. Could be interesting, but we don't know. So, okay. So
speaking of not knowing,
I guess I'm not
Commander
done ranting.
Keen. So hold on. I want to preface this thing.
Go ahead.
Commander Keen phone game.
Mm-hmm.
Who is this game for?
Yes, that's a good question.
It's a legacy game based on like an old effigy game.
Yeah.
But it's brought to phones, which I assume many people who played those games back in the day don't want to use to play video games. But it's also done in an art style that kind of reminds you of like
Johnny Test?
Like Johnny Test or like any generic phone game.
Yeah.
But it's like you like no kid today knows what Commander Keen is. But
Yeah.
and also no grown ass adult wants to play a Commander Keen phone game.
Yeah, this is.
It's not even the same
one.
genre. Like Commander Keen was a platformer. Why?
Yeah.
A tower defense phone game?
I think this was the moment when the Bethesda conference like became absolute garbage, because they're trying to hawk a phone game that, like, much like Gears Pop, where Gears Pop to me it looks like this is not for the audience that knows Gears of War. Like, if you know Gears of War, you're not gonna want this. And Commander Keen is very similar, where, yeah, this is a pretty old game series that I think that people would legitimately be curious to see if they actually tried to make, like, you know, a new one in the original style. I think people would be down to try it. You'd get some attention for bringing back a really old thing. But yeah, you're bringing it back in a way that's potentially you're just trying to make a quick buck, and especially off of kids. And that's not cool, man.
I mean, you might as well release a phone game with like loot boxes in it while you still can.
Yeah, that's basically what's happening here. That's what it sounds like.
Yeah.
So hopefully that, I don't know, hopefully it just goes in the garbage.
Commander Keen needs your help, but first you'll have to put in the credit card numbers, your name. Oh God.
The expiration.
Go ask your mommy and daddy.
3 digits on the back. Hurry. Oh man.
Hurry, or else.
That would be good.
Okay, we're now on to our next CG trailer. These are no longer games. They just continue to be more CG trailers with no gameplay. But anyways,
this is from the Dishonored people, right?
Yeah.
It's Arcane and Prey. This is their new thing.
I don't know what. And here's my question. I don't know what kind of game this is. I like the idea. Like, the idea sounds like a movie idea where it's like...
Well, yeah, that's my issue
These
with
two people keep killing each other, and whenever one of them dies, I think they both... The day gets reset or something.
Which I feel like I've seen before somewhere, but I can't remember. But either way, that's the idea. The game is called Deathloop. And yeah, the trailer was CG, and it was just kind of like... Not even much gameplay like...
What genre is this? Is this the first-person shooter, or is it like a multiplayer shooter?
Well,
like, what is this game?
The guy afterwards who was talking about it, he tried to say that it'll definitely have things in common with the other games that they've made, and that's not a bad thing. But I do wonder, like, is this... Yeah, because you have two people. That almost seems like, like a competitive or co-op, like a multiplayer experience, but I'm not really sure.
Is it going to be a thing? Where, like, you have set missions to do, but you'll get matched up with someone, and they'll also be in the mission, and they could kill you back?
Yeah, like, that's what I don't understand, is that, like, your game has an adversary. We don't even know which of those two characters you're playing as. Like, we honestly don't even know. So, there's a lot of questions about Deathloop, and I hope to get more answers, but I really think that they needed to present it in a more clear manner.
Yeah.
Because...
But finally,
yeah,
we
this is it. This is
we
our last
move on.
game.
The game that everyone came here for. The game that looks like fucking hot fire. Doomslayer comes back in Doom Eternal. Woo!
Doom's on Smash. Oh wait, no, he's not.
No, he's not on Smash.
Not yet.
But Doom, oh my god, Doom Eternal. This game looks fucking great.
This was the first actual we got to see footage of a game for an extended period of time. You know, we didn't really get that at Microsoft, and I guess we got it at Star Wars, but that gameplay to me was very, like, trailery. This was
Yeah.
real gameplay. Because this
Yeah,
game
yeah,
is
no,
coming
this
out
was a video game
very
ass
soon.
video game.
Like, this game's almost out, so I understand that, of course, they can show real gameplay of it. But it was good, because that's the thing, is that not everyone goes to QuakeCon or whatever, and not everyone gets to see all the footage out there. And at E3, you gotta
No.
remind people, like, hey, it's here, this is what it is. And that was definitely cool to see. It was the best possible way I think the show could have ended.
Yeah.
So that was good, but doesn't excuse everything else that happened. But do you have thoughts about it?
Doom Eternal, it seems like it's gonna have some cool set pieces.
Yeah.
Like you get to go to heaven this time, which is I don't think Doom's done
Yeah,
that.
that to me, I'm not sure if Doom's ever done that.
But that's cool.
Yeah.
It also it seems like the game has like way better like platforming because they really up
the arena and stuff, and yeah, you could kind of like platform, which is fine. I mean, because if you want to have sections where you're like supposed to just get through real fast, you've got to kind of platform your way across. I saw also that multiplayer mode that I don't know if that's replacing the multiplayer they already had, because
it should, because the old one was really not that special.
People never really talked about it. That was the thing, was I think that Bethesda thought that the Doom game would be a huge multiplayer hit, and I think that people, really love the single player, but could take or leave the multiplayer. So this is more of like a class-based thing, where one guy is Doom guy, and the other players are picking the demons. So I like that idea, because you have Doom guy with the classic controls, more or less, and then you have the demons who are more ability based. So it's kind of you kind of have this idea of like a modern, like a hero shooter thing, versus a twitchy classic shooter.
Honestly, it's really reminiscent of like those old multiplayer modes from like Dead Space 2 and like Left 4 Dead.
Yeah, I was just thinking that.
which were good modes, like a little gimmicky, but really cool to like have. And this will be just it'll be a nice mode to have. You only need 3 people to play it too, so like you can just grab 2 friends and you can just go at it. Like, it looks good.
Yeah, that could be a pretty neat little activity to do in the game. But of course, single player's the star of the show, and that's probably going to be pretty awesome. Just from watching that footage, it should look pretty cool. So.
Yep, definitely going to be replaying through the first Doom 2016 again.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess that was Bethesda.
Yeah, we didn't have much to talk about. There wasn't really much else there. And yeah, we're just going to move on. It was bad, and it made us angry.
Everything but Doom. It was pretty much just...
Yeah, it was
I don't know.
It was a combination of getting mad at Todd and his boys, getting confused by trailers that told us nothing, and getting some hope from seeing, the Wolfenstein trailer and this Doom thing, but that's about it. So there's not much else to say.
I guess to note, we didn't really talk about Wolfenstein because neither of us have really played the new Wolfenstein.
No, we're not really in on it. I'm kind of surprised it took this long for this to... When they announced this thing a while ago, last year at E3, I assumed that it was just kind of like a standalone DLC. I didn't think that it would be in development for as long as it has been. So this might actually be like a real game. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I'm just saying, like, this could have a lot of content. So...
But anyways, game looks solid, but... It's time to bring down our hardcore levels and get a little soft. Maybe a little Ubisoft.
Ubisoft. This, to me, of the conferences we are talking about today, this was the best one. This was much better than I thought it was going to be. I already went in thinking it would be alright. Compared to other people who hate Ubisoft a lot. I've had my issues with Ubisoft. They have released some games I really like. They've also released some games I really don't like. So... Yeah. We're here, though.
Ubisoft is pretty much just consistent with what they do.
Yeah, they're consistently inconsistent.
Yeah.
It's interesting. So I guess we'll start off with the game that I guess this was announced or leaked earlier, but it was shown the way they started the show with the new Watch Dogs Legion. And I'm not really a Watch Dogs fan. I didn't really care for the first one, and I never got the second one. And I was kind of under the impression that the second one didn't sell well, and so you just weren't really going to see Watch Dogs ever again.
No.
But here we are. And I have to say that compared to the other games, which failed to get my attention, they actually managed to do it this year.
Yeah, it looks really neat this time, honestly. Like,
There is potential to this idea because really the two things that stuck out to me were the way that they're doing the setting, because I think compared to the settings of the first two games, this does feel like stylized in the direction that a game about like secret hackers resisting dystopian stuff should. They're leaning into that,
yeah,
which I think is a good idea. And
looks
then
way more high tech. Like a little bit. They're
yeah, yeah,
like this is like the like your 1/4 Cyberpunk 2077.
yeah. But
Like,
and that's to me that's not a bad thing because I
nope.
love that stuff. So I liked seeing it go in that direction. And then really the other big thing about this game, and I do think this is a really interesting concept for an open world game, is that there's no main character.
No, no.
When you die in this game, you die, and you can pretty much just play. I don't necessarily know if it's going to be everybody that you see in the world, but you can just get people. It's kind of like John Wick. Everyone is secretly a hacker, and you know when someone dies, okay, you're going to play as this guy now, and now that it's time for them to become a hacker person. You know, they look like an old lady, but no, they've got a gun and a drone and a phone, and they're going to go and complete the mission. And that, to me, was just crazy. I'm like, oh, that's great. That really leans into the idea.
Everyone is Hacker Man.
Yes. We are all Hacker Man. And that's great. I don't know, I kind of love that.
Yeah, like, compared to the other two, like, the first one was just bland.
Yeah.
The second one, to me, seemed a little too try-hardy with all of its, like, hacker and, like, memes and crap.
It kind of reminded me of, like, Saints Row or something, where it's like, oh, they're trying to make this a joke.
But I feel like this one finally kind of strikes that balance they've been looking for, really.
I like the look of this. I like the potential that I see. I like games where you have, like, characters with traits and stuff. Like, it's almost like you're playing, like, Phantom Pain, but you can't play as Snake, so you just have to get your little guys, you know?
And also,
that's cool.
They could use this kind of as a platform to, like, be like, oh, hey, Sam Fisher is in the game world right now, maybe you can recruit him. Like, they could totally do stuff like that.
Honestly, I think that, yeah, if they want to put a bunch of that service stuff, which I'm not always a fan of, but it really depends on the game, you could definitely you could do that.
Maybe Terminator's walking around.
Maybe.
Which brings us to our next game.
Oh, God.
Ghost Recon Blue Point.
It's called Breakpoint.
Breakpoint, whatever.
I don't like
this is all you. This is all you.
So I was a big fan of the Ghost Recon Wildlands a couple of years ago, and this is the sequel to it. And they showed a demo for it a little while ago. Yeah, and that demo was okay. It seems like they're kind of trying to get away from the typical open world stuff, because it kind of seems like rather than just setting it in like a country, they're like, okay, these are like deserted islands. The only people on these islands is the evil bad guy company from like Incredibles, basically.
Yeah.
And I kind of like that idea of like, okay, it's just us versus them. Like, you are being hunted by these dudes. There's no random NPCs that, like, aren't really integrated into the game very well. There's no rebels who will give you really OP abilities if you help them. And I think that could help make the game harder. The only thing that, to me, was a red flag, because they didn't really acknowledge this, people had to ask them about it, and they confirmed it, was that they said it when they announced this game that you were not going to have access to the AI squad mates like you did in the previous one. And I kind of understood. It's like, well, if they're trying to get rid of all non-hostile AI stuff, maybe that's their intention. But I think that clearly removes strategies from the game. Like, okay, well, now when I'm playing by myself and I'm not playing in the co-op or whatever, I just can't really use vehicles to try to attack people, because you can't really do drive-bys without somebody manning the gun. So there are all sorts of strategies that would just be gone. And so that was something that definitely had me worried, but it's like, well, if the game is built around not having teammates, it could still be pretty compelling, because in like Far Cry and Metal Gear, you don't necessarily have teammates, so they could still make it work. But I was really surprised when they got on stage and they said that, yeah, the plan is to basically add teammates back into the game at some point during the first year of it being out. And I personally hope it doesn't take too long because I would like to get this game. But I certainly would I would prefer to play it with AI teammates. So.
Yeah. I mean, does this mean, but would this mean that you're now just going to be waiting rather than just grabbing this, I assume?
It depends. Yeah, I mean, it's coming out kind of soon. It really depends on how quickly they can add this back into the game. I mean, I really couldn't say how long that would take. But it's a game I was looking forward to, so I may still get it anyway, but I definitely want to wait for more information. And we'll see, because that's the other thing is that Wildlands had some DLC, but they were also trying to bolt on some game-as-a-service stuff onto it. And I'm not really sure that it was the right fit. This game allegedly is built for that from the beginning.
Yeah.
And I hope that they can pull it off. Like, it is potentially a bad thing, but it depends. Like, for me, what would make it work is that if you're going to do that, you need to add more stuff than just, like, random missions. Because outside of the 2 expansions, which weren't particularly good, I mean, one of them was better than the others, but they were kind of disappointing, they didn't really add much new single-player content post-launch. And that's the thing, is, like, this game is single-player, it's also entirely co-op, and you do have the PvP stuff, which they added to Wildlands after it came out. And that's kind of my issue. It's like, I want to make sure that if they're going to go the service route, the co-op and the single-player fans are getting a good amount of content. You know, it's not all just funneling towards the PvP. That's kind of my take on it. Also, I guess Terminator's in the game or some crap.
Yep. Terminator, the movie franchise with only 2 good movies.
Dark Fate, baby. They really want you to see it.
They'll bring up their... I don't know.
So...
Okay, we're moving on to another Tom Clancy game, Elite Squad. This is a
this is a phone game. So yeah, I'm gonna be a hypocrite here. Yes, this is a phone game.
Time for hypocrite, boys. Let's go.
This kind of looked like it was worth maybe downloading and trying. I will say that. I don't know how it plays. I'm not a big phone game person. But I kind of like the premise of it, at least, of like, hey, it's Tom Clancy, you know.
I would like to give comparisons to the other phone games we talked about.
Sure.
So, Gears of War, third-person shooter, cover-based, hardcore game, right?
Yeah.
Turned into Gears Pop, a kind of strategy kind of game with, like, really kiddish characters. Commander Keen, classic 2D side-scroller, turned into kind of a strategy phone game,
I guess.
And then you think of the Tom Clancy games, which are known for like strategy in general and making smart moves, turned into a strategic phone game. It kind of works better.
I think it could work better. I definitely would like to try it and see what happens, but I think that as far as like demoing it, because that's the other thing, it looked like a neat premise. The idea of taking all these Tom Clancy characters from various games and putting them in one thing is neat, and this is really probably the only way that was ever going to happen. And, I mean, compared to other demos of phone game, like, this, like, come on, man. You're going to compare this to the Command & Conquer phone game reveal, which was, like, the worst thing ever. Like, this was pretty measured as far as that. It was like, okay, here's the phone game.
Yeah, it fits the series.
So I didn't think this was terrible.
And it's not. It's also not. It fits the series, but it's also not taking away from the actual series, like the Command and Conquer game, because the Command and Conquer phone game is the only Command and Conquer thing out right now.
Tom and Clancy is alive and well as a franchise. So this is just, you know, of course they're going to make a phone game, and I think they could maybe do worse. I might check it out, but that doesn't mean I'd spend money on it. You know, I mean, come on, guys, it's a phone game.
Y'all have stuff, right?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I made a joke. you can hit the. No, don't hit this. Like hit
the dislike button. Okay.
Yeah, hit the dislike button. The fuck dare you?
Do it.
Nah.
So speaking
this is
of
your channel. I want to ruin it for you.
Oh God.
Whatever. All right, let's
Well, you mentioned
continue.
my channel. So speaking of places where all people must evacuate, we're talking
Yeah.
about we're talking about the next game that was announced. This was sort of leaked, but I wasn't entirely sure if it was legit. Like, I thought that
Yeah.
certain details of it may have been misrepresented. Kind of like how some guy said Miyamoto was going to be at the Xbox thing, but it turned out he was
Yeah.
talking about Keanu Reeves.
Yeah,
So,
that was a mistake.
this is Rainbow Six. It's called Quarantine, and
Yeah.
if you'll recall, I did a video on the Outbreak limited event game mode that was in Siege a year and some change ago, and they're basically
For
taking
like a month, right?
yeah, I mean, it was only in there for a month at most,
Oh,
and
stinks.
that was yeah. I mean, it wasn't that bad, but it was like this feels like a waste, and I'm happy to say that it was not a waste because this may have been the plan the whole time. Honestly, was they were testing this out as a separate game entirely, which I think is a pretty weird idea, but it could work because I think that, yeah, I mean, Siege needs to focus on Siege. And if they want to try to take what Siege has become and give it a PvE component, it might be for the best to have it be its own game because you're always going to have people who just aren't interested in it. And I like PvE stuff and co-op stuff, and it could be fun. But I also acknowledge that what they're doing with it, I mean, the alien stuff is way, off the mark from what I think anybody wants. But I think if it was developed further, and especially when it's kind of compartmentalized and like this is the game with the aliens, the Siege doesn't have that. Other Tom Clancy stuff doesn't have that. I'm like, okay, I kind of get what you're doing here. I think this game definitely has potential, but I really want to know more about how it's going to work because, like, there's just no way that a large percentage of the characters who are in the game of Siege as they are could really function in Outbreak as it is. So that's my concern is, like, how many characters, how much does this game even cost? How is it monetized? Like, there's lots of questions that we don't have.
Like, I don't know if I would buy this game at full price, but like,
well, I don't think this should be a $50 or $60 game. Like that,
30 up.
This
30.
needs to be a cheaper game for sure. Maybe even some aspect of your progression transfers between them. I don't know. I definitely am curious because, of course, I did play Outbreak, and I would definitely want to check this out just out of curiosity. But I would like to know more. I think it's a neat idea. It's good that the work that went into Outbreak isn't just being thrown away, because that was definitely one of my biggest concerns. So I think that there's potential here, and I definitely look forward to hearing more about this when it comes out next year.
Next.
Yeah, lots of things coming out next year. This is one of those E3s where, like, there were no announcements about stuff that's coming out this year. It felt very much like 2020. Everything's coming out in March 2020.
Everything's in March.
Yeah. So I'm looking forward to that.
And then like you have February. Like, man, March. If you just save up money for March. That's what
this is going to be like 2017, where the first like 4 months of 2017 were just packed. That's when all the best games came out. Anyway, so we're going to move on. I guess we'll mention it here. Uplay Plus, the Game Pass that Microsoft has, that other people are trying to get in on. I think EA has something similar. It's happening here. And unlike those other companies, this is something I actually would consider buying. Because I feel like Ubisoft's portfolio is a lot more diverse than like Microsoft's, to be honest.
Yeah, but honestly, I would say Microsoft. I feel Microsoft would have more third parties. Like Ubisoft is fine, but I feel like their portfolio, even though as vast as it is, it just seems a little more limited than what Microsoft can give you.
Maybe. I obviously would want to look into it more, but I do feel like there's a lot of Ubisoft games that I skipped or I have enjoyed in the past that I feel like it would be worthwhile to get them using this. I feel like it could help. It could be neat. I would value this more than like the EA Access thing, honestly.
Yeah, because EA makes like 2 games.
Yeah, I mean, there's stuff in the backlog, but it's like I wouldn't want to even play that with EA Access. Like, it's not even worth it. So, I don't know. This to me, everyone's doing this now, and, we'll see where it goes. It's an interesting trend. It's not a bad trend, per se. My big concern with this trend is that it has the potential to kind of devalue certain games in the way that, like, movies and TV shows are devalued on other streaming services. Where I already read a review or an article yesterday saying that the Battletoads game that they had at Microsoft, someone played it and they said, yeah, it's a good thing this isn't Game Pass, because like it's basically worth like just paying $10 and playing like a few times and that's it. Like,
yeah.
And that's what happened with Sea of Thieves. Sea of Thieves was in the Game Pass from day one, so you could buy it full price, or you could probably get your money's worth and buy it for $10. So I kind of, that's my concern, but that's just kind of my personal feeling on it. I don't know if you feel that way.
I mean, I don't know. I hope, in general, I hope that like games, like the value of games has become kind of a nebulous thing. Consoles seem to want to keep it at 60. A lot of PC stuff really wants to like be variable, but it's really hard to say what video games want to be price-wise.
Yeah, I mean, I think we can all agree that they shouldn't be more than 60, but considering that DLC...
70 is like a no deal.
Yeah,
like,
but considering how many games have all this DLC, and especially, that's the funny thing, a lot of PC games want to be below 60, but they tend to have all these expansions and DLCs that people swear by, so you end up shelling out way more than if the game
the thing, like,
was 60.
A game like I feel like Overwatch or Siege or a lot of those games that just are more multiplayer based should not be $60 just because.
Well, Siege,
I'm gonna grab
15,
Siege.
Thankfully.
Well, that's the thing. That's why I bought Siege when it was cheaper. I bought Siege at like 20, 15.
Yeah, Overwatch.
$15.
I think I've still seen it at full price in some territories, but they may have lowered the price recently. I'm not really sure.
Yeah, but like it allows me to buy the game and then allows me to like make a choice between like. Maybe I want to grab this Season 2 character. Maybe I want to grab this character. Instead of just buying it, getting 16 characters for $60, and then, oh, there's like a $50 Season Pass. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, it's always an issue, and Uplay and these other services are going to add to that, as well as the streaming stuff, which, I mean, I don't really want to get into that, because I kind of feel like the Stadia stuff, I'm not terribly versed in Stadia's little conference that they did. I feel like it's kind of beyond the scope of this coverage, so I prefer to not really discuss streaming too much, other than to say that I think that will also add on to this idea of, like, not really being sure how much something is even worth when you've got it through streaming. And you don't even own it, but it might not matter. So that's about that little tangent. But we're almost done with Ubisoft because we have 2 more games to talk about. We have the Roller Champions, which I believe has a limited time demo out now.
Yeah.
This is basically Ubisoft kind of trying to do a Rocket League, Lucio Ball-esque game mode, which not a bad idea.
It's one of those kind of modes, but like I don't know. It looks cool, but I wonder how tired of the game you're gonna get after playing it for like.
Well, that was
like you can only
you
can only like go around the same old shapes again and again before Baby Circuit becomes boring.
Yeah, Rocket League for me had
Or
that
Baby
issue
Park.
where I played it and it was fun, but after a while, this was when it first came out. I understand the game has changed a lot, but yeah, I kind of just got a little tired of it because it was simple and fun. But if it's simple, it can sometimes be hard to keep my attention when it's that kind of game.
You can really tell Ubisoft wants this to be their big esports thing.
It has a place there because it's like a more sporty esport game rather than like Siege, which is very much in the shooter realm.
That's kind of my problem though, is that I like it when a game becomes esport because the game itself is good, not rather because it was built to be an esport.
Well,
that's kind of the problem I have with this game, is that it just doesn't really.
That's a lot of things now. I get what you mean.
It doesn't feel like it deserves it at the moment. Like it's like saying esport. I'm an esport, but it's like I don't know, man.
Yeah, we'll see.
Be a good game first, then an esport second. That's how it should be.
And yeah, I definitely agree. Here's my one question about the game. The game is called Roller Champions.
Yeah.
Do you think that there will be like a class or hero element to this game in any way? Or am I just making a joke?
I don't know, man. Like,
it's hard to say, right? You weren't thinking about it, but now I brought it up.
I think people are tired of heroes, but I don't know, man. It could be.
I mean, yeah, if Bleeding Edge is any indication, I'm tired of heroes. If that's the kind of heroes we gotta look forward to, ugh.
I mean, I feel like we have our hero games. We have our Siege. We have our Overwatch. We have our games already.
Yeah.
We don't need the third pillar.
We don't need more. Yeah, it's tough to do that. It kind of annoys me where it's like they're trying so hard to make these characters like super likable, and I just want to throw a pie in their face and shove them in the trash. It's just like, shut up, dude.
Hey guys, look, it's this character, and they got.
If I could remember a single character from Battleborn or Lawbreakers, I would make a joke, but I can't. So that's the joke.
Please draw a point of this character so we can get more advertising budget.
Yeah, you made a joke about Randy Pitchford. So speaking of monsters, let's talk about the next game on the list.
Oh god. Speaking of the monster allegedly known as Randy Pitchford and the god known as Todd Howard. Wait, hold on. Todd Howard is we're still in Ubisoft. Fuck.
Todd's not here. We're not talking
shut
about
up.
Todd.
Okay, fine.
Okay,
gods and monsters.
Yeah. This game is
now irrelevant because of what was announced at Nintendo.
Okay, that's a good point.
But
that's a good point. Gods and monsters.
But it's Ubisoft trying to do Breath of the Wild.
Yeah, that's what a lot of people are saying. I don't really know if that's necessarily the case, but
you could tell by the visual design that
yes,
know what they're going for.
No, I certainly get that, but it does depend more. I mean, that's the thing, is it's made by people who worked on Assassin's Creed Odyssey, so that certainly implies a level of open worldness, and it could be fun. And I don't know. I mean, we'll see, but there's not really much to say because this was one of those things where we didn't really get to see gameplay. It kind of looked like it could have been an engine. But I don't really know. I think you just kind of have to keep your ear to the ground on this if you're curious about it, because I certainly enjoy that kind of... I mean, it could be like Kid Icarus, but with no fourth wall stuff. So that actually sounds worse.
No charm.
We'll see.
Because I do feel that even though Ubisoft games tend to be pretty solid, I feel a lot of them are missing charm. But
they try very hard to have charm. It doesn't always work. But we're going to talk about two things that we're missing, because I think it is worth pointing out that there's two games that I know everybody really wanted to see, and they were not even mentioned at this thing, and that's Beyond Good and Evil 2 and Skull and Bones, the pirate game from last year. And here's the difference. So, Beyond Good and Evil, we have seen trailers, but we have seen very little gameplay, and it was definitely early gameplay. Skull and Bones, we got like the demo where they show you a mission, they explain what's going on. It was pretty in depth, so I'm really surprised that.
Here's my theory on both of these games. I can get Skull and Bones out of the way first, and then I'll stay with Beyond Good and Evil.
Sure.
Skull and Bones is canceled. Beyond Good and Evil, I feel Beyond Good and Evil is Ubisoft's Final Fantasy 15. Or 13.
It's seeming like that level of scope where it seems like a more epic project, a more creative project than what they usually do, but it also might be outside the scope of what they usually do. Like, as far as this game, there's people at Ubisoft sitting there going like, well, how can we, put our service stuff into the game? And maybe that's where the trouble lies right now. With how do they do that? Because I don't really know what this game is, to be quite honest.
It seems like they're going for something like...
it's nothing like the first one. That's all I know.
Well, no, it's nothing like the first one. But I remember there's this game that a lot of people put a shitload of money into, and it's still not even out. It's still in like beta right now.
I mean, that's any number of games.
Right.
You're talking about Star Citizen?
Yeah, it seems like Ubisoft Star Citizen. But it also,
it's not that bad.
I would like to elaborate on something I said earlier. The reason why I think this is Versus 13, like for Ubisoft, is that I feel like this is a game that probably has not even started full production yet, but they're just tinkering with it constantly. Because every time I see a trailer for this, it looks like the Unreal Engine test realm with a flying, like, not really animated monkey on a jetpack.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that this game is very much in the tinkering phase. They want people to know it's coming, but we don't really even know what it is.
Yeah. We're not going to see this game for a long time, much like those other two games we mentioned last year. If any listeners are keeping up with
Yeah, I
continuity.
mean, that's the thing, is that this is kind of just what's happening with this stuff. So, that's the thing about this conference, is that really the only things I would criticize are that stuff, they're not consistent. Some things just didn't show up again. Otherwise, I thought this conference was pretty okay, and there were some things I didn't expect to be impressed with that I was.
It was a Ubisoft conference, and I felt the kind of mildness I always feel, where it's all right.
Yeah, I mean, Ubisoft usually doesn't like blow it out of the water, but
No,
their conferences don't always hurt me.
they're.
Sometimes I'll just. It's like I don't want to talk about this because it's like I don't know.
It's one of those things where they don't immediately blow their load. It's just solid all the way through. But speaking of conferences that immediately blew their load,
Yes,
and then kind of fizzled out,
because
we're now on to our final conference.
This is the final conference, and it's
Square Enix.
So Square Enix, I will give my thoughts on the conference as a whole. Because right now I'm looking at our list of games, and it's sectioned by conference.
Yeah.
There are 3 games in this section. Only 3 for Square Enix. And even that is pushing it. It really should just be 2.
I would warrant that based on stuff, because we did have a conversation not off podcast for this.
Onikani or whatever it was called?
No, not Oninaki. There's something I learned later that Final Fantasy VIII. We'll go into 7 in a little bit, but Final Fantasy VIII seems to it's finally getting a remaster after all this time.
Right.
And that game has kind of been stuck in the PS1 era. There never has really been a game where it's an up-res of it.
No.
But it actually, from what new info that came out, they announced a remaster, right?
Yeah.
So it looked like, okay, it's just going to be the game in 1080p. But from what it looks like, they're actually tweaking stuff a little bit with the game. There's a good model comparison of it from an emulator comparing Squall's battle model to the new battle model. And it seems like they've actually changed some of the character models around. They've actually improved some of the graphics to compensate for the high resolution.
Well, I haven't really heard of that being the case with the other remasters that they've done. So I wonder.
They did do this before for Final Fantasy X.
Oh, okay.
So it is very nice that they are at least doing it so that the characters look more in line than what people have in their brain.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of those PS1 games, you have these kind of abstract humanoids, and it's not going to look good in a higher resolution. So if they can try to improve it without ruining the art or anything, I mean, I guess it's good for them.
I would say 7 kind of had the issue of, the fuzziness of CRTs back in the day really saved the detail.
Yes.
But 8 leaned heavily on that. A lot. There's just a ton of smudged pixels, but the CRT stuff just kind of smoothed everything out. But that's really all I really wanted to say on 8, is that at least they're doing stuff with it.
So that's our mystery 4th game, is that we're mentioning that. So I just want to say, other than, the big one, this to me was I was just sitting there being like, okay. Nothing got me. There were, including Final Fantasy VII, there were 8 remakes, although these were more like remasters or ports, but I'm just saying that. There was a very large quantity of that. And I was hoping for more, because Square Enix is a publisher. They have
a lot of ports and war crimes being denied.
If you're a big fan of the core Square Enix, then you may have really enjoyed this conference. But as someone who I guess isn't, that wasn't it. I really wanted to see more from their other teams, other things we know are in production, stuff they talked about last year that we didn't see at all. I mean,
where's Square Platinum Platinum's game they're working with.
Yes,
Like,
Platinum Games had something last year, and we don't know what it is.
Babylon's Fall, I believe, is what it is
Yeah,
called.
that's what it's called. We don't know what it is, but they announced it last year. It wasn't here at all.
I haven't seen anything about it, but I assume since Platinum is really busy right now, as they always are,
Yeah.
they're probably not going to show it for a while.
Yeah, there's that. We got... where's Yoko Taro? I need to know where he is.
Yoko's in the basement hawking Nier off wherever he can.
Oh,
And God bless his soul.
I just want him to come out again, and I want to see him do something. You know?
Why would you drive Yoko Taro to drink so he can write more?
Look,
because
he said that when he's in the office, in the office, he's drinking Diet Coke. So hopefully they're just keeping him in the office.
But he has stated that he writes better when he's drunk.
Okay, well look, I'm sorry, Yoko. You have to suffer, Mr. Taro, whatever your actual name is. I don't even know.
Time to get back on the horse.
Yeah, you got to get back on. You have to suffer for my art. I'm sorry.
Please suffer for us.
Yes.
Video game industry.
So speaking of not suffering.
Anyways, now for like the best part of this conference.
We're going to talk about
big
Final
deep dive.
Fantasy VII Remake, which is a game that I think we've all been very unsure about because we just don't know what they're doing. This was pretty good as far as convincing people, I think, hey, we actually know what we're doing. Because I have to mention this beforehand. Because I've recently finished Final Fantasy 15. I know it came out years ago. I finished it now. I know I did a video on it. I've completed the saga. Final Fantasy VII Remake, to me, it could not have anything in common with 15. 15 is garbage. I'm sorry if you really like it. I hated it. And to me, it just demonstrated, these 15, guys don't know what they're doing. You couldn't even finish it.
Because the reason the problem I had with 15 was I did not like the combat. It felt very basic and boring.
Yeah.
And if 7 had that combat, I would not be interested in this at all.
And that's not the case, thankfully. Thank God.
Yep. It seems to be like an actual action.
Yeah.
With abilities, cooldowns, I like what they're doing with the combat in this game. There's a dodge button where you could actually dodge instead of holding dodge.
Yeah, it seems like they're doing things the way they ought to be here. So I definitely think the game has potential on that front. It has potential to differentiate itself from the original and be an interesting remake. If I think that game remakes, when you go to these lengths to make it a truly different game, can be really interesting. So I have a level of interest. I could take or leave Final Fantasy VII. It's not a game I've beaten. It doesn't hold childhood memories for me. But I'm very curious about this because it just seems like almost an impossible a concept. And I say that because Square has been incredibly hesitant and vague about what the hell this game even is. And to the point where after the conference was over, we had to get additional clarification multiple times about what this is. So I am going to say what I have learned about this game because they did not tell us at the conference. At the conference, they said this game will be at least 2 full Blu-ray discs of content. So that made me think, okay, the whole game is just too big, so it's multiple discs. No, it turns out it is episodic after all. This is just one part of it. It's all of Midgar is a 2-disc game. Except I got another tweet today where a Square Enix producer said he does not know how many episodes this game will even be. They don't know. They haven't figured that out yet.
At this point, what they do really need to get right, and it's the part that everyone remembers Midgar. And I feel like if they're really getting Midgar right, everything, the detail,
they need to
so much is going into this one area, and I feel like once they do get to finish up Midgar, they'll probably just be able to just do disc 2 and then disc 3. It's not hard to say that this will probably just be a Final Fantasy 7 1, 2, 3 situation, which I don't mind.
I'm just very surprised because that's the thing was that they didn't even say it was episodic at the conference. You could have watched that and you could have pre-ordered the Super Deluxe Edition with the statue of the bike and think you're getting the whole game. And they were very vague about that. And so that's the thing is it's still this Final Fantasy 17 remake is not a myth anymore.
7.
Whatever it is, same thing. Whatever it is, it's still very nebulous. And I hope that they can clear that up. And they had a chance to clear it up, and to me, they didn't really. But from what I saw, there's a lot of potential here. And I mean,
the gameplay demo was great. I feel like the character designs are solid. Tifa's new design looks great.
Everybody's revamped appearances and the environments and everything. The way everything looks is really on point. I think it looks way better than 15 graphically, and the art direction, of course, way better. Like, this is exactly what I think this game probably should look like. When you're trying to reimagine it now. And that's I think it has a lot of potential, but at the same time, this undertaking, how many deluxe special editions with statues is Square going to have to sell us of this entire game in total? I just don't know.
There will be. I feel like there's going to be a lot of deluxe editions of this game, but
the different iterations of this game, you mean?
Well, yeah, but honestly, I do feel that you can feel where the cutoff points are.
Oh, sure.
I know, and everyone knows where exactly this is going to end. This is going to end right the minute you step off of Midgar. You could see that definitely being the ending, just because you'll take out the Shinra CEO, he'll probably be the main villain, so you could easily create a 3-act structure out of that guy, just
we know it's all Midgar, so naturally that'll be it, and that'll make sense. And, we'll see about
honestly,
the rest.
The next game could honestly just start with the flashback, the minute, in the town you get out after, Midgar. It'll start with the flashback, and that'll be, your second tutorial, and then it'll immediately cut to Cloud finishing his story, telling the party about his past.
Yeah, so it could be. That's what I'd be very curious about, is transferring from one game to the next. How would that work? Because there's a part of me that would like to see some Mass Effect style stuff where, hey, what level were you when you beat the first one? Okay, that's still your level, That would be really interesting, and I just don't know how they're going to play that.
Well, here's the thing. You're not. I believe you're not going to be able to transfer your levels. Just because somebody's gonna grind up to 99 in the other 2 games, people are gonna play the shit out of this game, even if it's just part 1.
Okay.
But you'll probably get special items. You'll probably get perks and stuff.
Well, that's what
there will be crossover, but not too much. You won't get your levels.
My concern would mostly just be if you get all your abilities that you've unlocked throughout the game, and that's all taken away from you, that's gonna be really annoying. And it would be cool to go from one to the next, and it's all right, I got my same kit, more or less. The enemies are already built on the understanding that I have this kit.
I can see you getting your materia and your weapons. I can see that.
Yeah, that's just an important question that I have, but they don't want us to think about that. They want us to just think about Midgar, and...
you can't really think about that, because the second episode isn't coming out till 2022.
That's the issue, is that this is going to be a milked project, and I understand why. Square wants their money.
I'll be that sucker to buy them because this shit looks great.
I would like to buy it, but I would certainly wait because Final Fantasy 15.
You could.
That game
I don't know.
Was so. That it's just enough. It's enough to make me be okay, I don't think I can actually buy.
Rocco, are you telling me that the Final Fantasy series is inconsistent?
I am not a fan of Division 2. That's all I'm saying. Division 2, which is Square's main studio, I believe.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan. Right now. They have to prove me wrong. I believe they can. They might be able to if they have people who know what they're doing. Because that would be awesome.
Well, other than talk about 7, we now move on to our next CG trailer.
Oh yeah, Outriders.
That I honestly don't really remember this game too much.
Outriders is made by People Can Fly, who brought us Bulletstorm and Gears of War Judgment, and now they're making a game that I think is cooperative, and we didn't really see much footage, and even though they talked about it, I'm not really sure what it is. And I put it on the list because it was really one of the only like actual game announcements that happened here. But now talking about it, it's like it's fading from my mind.
Yeah, I really don't. This is the game I really don't remember. So I guess Outriders exists. It was a CG trailer.
Yeah,
but it didn't really.
I feel
it
bad.
wasn't really marvelous. Like,
yeah,
it didn't have any real marvels of the world. So we'll move on to a different game that it has marvels in it.
Yeah, it's time for Avengers. We've been hearing about this one for years, and they're finally showing it. This is a group effort between Crystal Dynamics and Eidos Montreal.
And we got another CG trailer and 5 screen.
Yeah, we didn't really get any gameplay, and
that's
people were losing their minds over this. And I'm just sitting here like, you know, remember when the Spider-Man game, they had him like swinging around and stuff and talking.
Yeah.
And this, we didn't really get that. It was just cutscenes. It was an ad.
I think we got gameplay.
We got
maybe?
like, it was so quick cut that it's really hard. Like, it may have been gameplay, but like I wanted to see like, okay,
a demo.
We're playing as, we're switching between these characters. Like, what does gameplay look like? I wanted to really get a sense of that, and I don't think that I did. I got a sense of just the plan for the game's launch, because they're already showing cutscenes for characters who will be added to the game later before showing us any gameplay. And to be fair, it sounds like they're trying to make this stuff free. Although I know that this game will have 1 billion costumes. Like, I can just tell off the bat. So they're gonna,
I have a question though.
Yeah.
Is it what kind of game is this? Is this a Destiny game?
Well,
but
I think that
because they want to do the live service, because they wouldn't mention no loot boxes.
It's a live service because that's clearly what they're doing. But there have to be, you know, other than costumes, I'm not sure what else they would try to sell you. I don't know how long they plan to support. I mean, they said years, right? I swear to God, somebody said like, "Oh, we're going to be supporting this game for years."
Yeah,
I
like
don't
a
know.
platform where they'll add more Avengers and maybe
like,
missions over time.
But there's got to be expansions. Like, you would have to have a paid expansion eventually. So I don't really believe them when they say all the story content's going to be free. Like, it just doesn't make, especially with the level of fidelity of the cutscenes that they're trying to go for, that costs money. Like, you're going to have to charge people something.
It looks like kind of Uncharted cutscene.
Yeah, I mean, it's got the cast of Uncharted in it, basically. So
yeah, all of Naughty Dog is here.
So yeah, that's the other thing. I have to mention this. Like, you compare that, like, seeing the Avengers here to like seeing all the guys in the Ultimate Alliance, and I'm just like, ugh. Like, these guys look. I understand what they're trying to do. They're trying to make them look like they're from the movie, but when you can't get the likeness of the actor's face and it's just somebody else's face, it is uncanny in a really weird, funny way.
They tried to do this with Marvel Infinite, with Tony Stark, and it just didn't. Nobody does Robert Downey Jr. Except for Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah,
it just doesn't work.
Yeah, it's just awkward. It's like it's difficult. It's difficult to pull off, and I don't know. It made me think of Spaceballs, where there's the part where they're like, well, "Sir, we captured the heroes of the film," and it's like, "No, those are their stunt doubles." And that's what I was looking at. I'm like, "Yeah, that's Chris Evans' stunt double. That's Scarlett Johansson's stunt double." You know, that's what it looked like, because it's like the same costumes and their faces are just wrong. It was so weird. But you know. That's the thing. I wish we could talk more about the gameplay, because I really wonder. But there really
wasn't.
I wonder how much this will end up playing like Ultimate Alliance, to be quite honest. That's kind of my question. Like Marvel Heroes or something?
I hope it plays... I don't know, because it's either going to be like Ultimate Alliance where you can attack stuff and you have skills, or it's going to be like Batman Arkham, where you just punch, and counter.
I think it's more in that. I mean, maybe like some characters might play like a Batman, but I feel like with characters with wildly different abilities and stuff, you have to have very different playstyle. I mean, Iron Man and the Hulk have to be distinct. I would say less distinction between, you know, Captain America and Black Widow. So I just don't know.
you can make Black Widow like a like combat-y but more ranged, while Captain America has range, but like.
Well, that's what confuses me, because like I imagine this as being like this is a linear game where you play different levels as the characters, and the levels are built around playing the specific character, so you can have very different styles of gameplay. But since it's sounding like they're going to be adding all these characters and things, it's like, no, maybe you can play each level as everybody, and I don't exactly know what's going on.
Speaking of adding characters, apparently somebody took a video at a Square event, or at the Square event.
Yeah.
And when they showed all the characters, they were like, and here's your Avengers, and apparently a bunch of people were just screaming, where's Hawkeye?
I mean, he's gonna be added later.
but he should be in the base though.
It is weird that he's not there. I did think it was weird. I mean, you can make jokes about Hawkeye in the MCU all you want, but like, dude, he's a guy with a bow and arrow. That's fun. He's
become more important over time. I feel, even in like Marvel movies.
I mean, people are shouting, "Where's Hawkeye?" because apparently they care about him. So, you know, that means something.
What? Hawkeye appeals to people in China. Where is Hawkeye? I think. I don't know if it's China or Japan, but I remember there was this poster where they try to make Hawkeye look like the main character.
Well, he was in Japan in the most recent one, so maybe that was why.
Yeah.
That could have been it. Wow. Okay, we're done. That's all the games.
Yeah.
Do you have final thoughts?
This E3, like I said, very underwhelming. I mean, I would have, if I could say what I would want from each of these, like, people, like, Microsoft, I would have wanted, like, more gameplay from stuff, maybe anything related to Banjo.
Oh yeah, Banjo not being there was weird, but we'll get into that later.
Sony, I would have liked Sony to have just been there. Yeah. That would have been fine. Bethesda, I don't know what Bethesda could have done. Bethesda sucks. Ubisoft, I don't know, maybe like a Splinter Cell or a Rayman, anything really. Square Enix, I mean, gameplay for Avengers.
That would have definitely helped round it out. That definitely would have.
Gameplay for Avengers, and maybe like more like focus on their newer games rather than showing a ton of just re-releases and remakes.
Yeah.
It was it was the E3 of CG trailers and stuff just not being there. And I really hope the next E3 is better. But then again, this could just be maybe like, I know a lot of people mentioned it last year, but like maybe E3 is finally dying down. But especially with like Sony wanting to move into the direct format, and Nintendo already flourishing with that.
I think
I just don't know.
As a trade show, E3 certainly has value. And I think that Nintendo has really capitalized on that, because for me, Nintendo at E3 is not just about the conference where they have their little video. It's also about seeing them really give you a look at these games. And when you're at a trade show, that's what you're doing, is you're playing it, you're getting a sense of it, you're talking to people. And I think that the companies are all trying to do that. And they're trying to various degrees to give you that sense. And it's very important. It's more important than these conferences, to be honest, because that's how you really know what the product is through that. And so I always encourage people, if you saw the trailer, try to see if there's anything else you can watch, if there's any interviews you can read, because that's just more important than all this. Because especially, like, I think back to a lot of the games that I've really enjoyed over the past few years, and many of them didn't really get much time at E3 at all. So it's almost like, why are we talking about these games when, like, the next really great game that I love is not one of these? That's not always the case. You know, there certainly have been exceptions to that, and that isn't the rule. But I think that, it's like, it's E3 is one of those things that can be very frustrating, but can also have some nice surprises, and I think it's that hope for the nice surprise. That's kind of what keeps me trying to watch as much of it as possible.
Yeah.
So I think with that sign off that
depressing. E3 went out this year, or at least general E3 went out this year with a
Yeah, this is
Eh.
not that. Now that I reflect on it more, yeah, this wasn't really a great year, but doesn't mean that these games are going to be bad. Doesn't mean there won't be great games this year. So I hope
If
everyone sticks around.
if I could say the standouts for me, like I guess would be like Chris Tale, Phantasy Star Online 2, Doom Eternal, and Final Fantasy 7. Like that's really all that.
Yeah,
And well, Death Stranding also, but that's
right.
pretty much what stood out to me. Everything else just kind of, I don't know.
I got a lot of games coming out in just a few months that I'm really interested in, so it's almost like E3 didn't even matter because these games are coming out
Yeah.
anyway. And we're
But
definitely gonna talk more about stuff next time. We're gonna talk about
Yep.
Nintendo. And
We're moving on to Nintendo, and our friend Mike will once again be joining us again.
that's the plan. So I hope everybody stay tuned. Thanks for watching,
Yep.
everybody.
We'll be back. Thank you.